Today we're talking about Rolex versus Omega and why I think Omega are superior to Rolex in many different ways. In a lot of ways, they're basically on the same playing field. Now, if you're familiar with my channel, I don't own any Rolex, and that is by choice. I own a few Omega because I really do love the brand. Today I'm going to give you 10 reasons, and these are personal reasons why I think Omega are better or as good as Rolex. So let's talk about all 10 of my reasons. If you have any reasons why you think Omega are better than Rolex, definitely add them down in the comment section below. Or if you think Rolex are better and you disagree with what I am talking about, please add those comments as well down below. I'd like to keep this conversation healthy. I don't want it to be an argument. I'd like it to be a conversation. So please add those comments down below, but please be respectful. Of course, I will always be respectful. So let's flip the camera and take a look at my 10 reasons. So starting with number 1, build quality. Build quality between Rolex and Omega, in my opinion, are on par. There are some watches from Rolex that are obviously better made than an Omega. Its counterpart, let's say a Seamaster. I think a Seamaster Professional 300, in my opinion, again, compared to a Submariner, are on par. However, there are obvious watches within the Rolex lineup that might be better made than their counterparts within the Omega lineup. If we're talking about the Aquaterra versus a Datejust, I think there's a little bit of a disparity between those two. Other than that, I think if everything is added up, I think build quality is on par with Rolex from Omega. Now that we've established that the build quality is basically on par with Rolex, the price at Omega are cheaper. Not only are they cheaper at retail price, but on the secondary market, you usually get an Omega at a very good discount. And that obviously cannot be said for Rolex because usually Rolex sell at a premium. Now there's a reason why they sell at a premium. Their demand is higher than Omega. That mostly has to do with marketing. And unfortunately, Omega just aren't as good as Rolex when it comes to marketing. So that's where Omega aren't on par with Rolex. Omega offer way more variety than Rolex. Some might see this as a negative. I see it as a positive. You have tons of different materials, case materials, dial styles. However, you also have different styles of watches. And basically what I mean by that, you're getting a Submariner and then basically a big Submariner. However, if you look at the Omega lineup, there are a ton of divers. They have heritage divers. They have limited edition heritage divers. They have the 300 Professional, which is their sort of standard dive watch. But then they have their Planet Ocean lineup, and then they have their big divers that go 1,000 or 10,000 meters or 12,000 meters or whatever it is. However, they have a line of watches, so you can get pretty much anything that you really want out of a dive watch through one of those watches. Whereas with Rolex, you really just have two choices. Omega are more innovative with their movements, with their cases, and their materials than Rolex, and that is really just the case. A very good example of that is that new Spyrite movement that they just recently came out with that is super accurate. They're constantly making innovations in their movements to make them more accurate, to make them a little bit more innovative than the competition. And the competition here is obviously Rolex. So for around $11,000, you can get a super racing Speedmaster that has one of the latest technologies in watch movements, or you can get a Daytona that has a movement in it that really hasn't been changed all that much in years. Speaking of movements, reason number 5, you could actually see them on Omegas. You usually cannot see them on Rolex. However, recently they've added a few display case backs for very expensive watches. However, most of their watches currently have solid case backs. I personally like to see the movement, so that is a plus for me. There are some people out there who do not, so obviously Rolex would win out for them. Again, this is a personal list, so I am saying that is a plus in my book for Omega. Reason number 6, and this is just one line, Omega went to the moon with the Speedmaster. That's all I have to say. That is reason number 6, and that is a great reason. Reason number 7, Omega are as iconic as Rolex, and in some cases, I think even more iconic than Rolex. Obviously, they did go to the moon, but they were also part of the Dirty Dozen. Obviously, Rolex was not. That is really cool. If you are a history buff, that's obviously something that was very important and actually very, very cool. Number 8, this is again more of a personal reason. Omega, in my opinion, are less flashy. So I think less people will recognize your watch on your wrist as something that is expensive, whereas people who are wearing Rolex, obviously everyone knows what a Rolex is, and you could spot a Rolex pretty easily. And if it's less flashy, it's less likely to get stolen. You're less likely to get mugged for your watch. It's pretty dangerous in major cities to be wearing a Rolex and walking around. Even if you're in a nice neighborhood, there is a probability you might get mugged. Especially in some major cities in the United States, wearing a Rolex could be dangerous. Number 9 is a little bit of a weird reason, but strap options. I don't think anybody really talks about this. There aren't many strap options for Rolex. Omega offer tons of strap options, and obviously you can use tons of aftermarket straps with both brands, but I'm talking about straps that come directly from the brand. And in Omega's case, there are tons, just look on their website, for every single one of their watches. Pretty simple. All right, so we're finally here. The last reason, this is reason number 10. James Bond wore both watches. He's worn Rolex. He currently wears Omega, and I think that's really cool for both brands. So kind of a wash, and what I'm saying, I guess, is that Omega on par here with Rolex. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think of my list of reasons. Do you think I am wrong? Do you think I am right? Let's talk about it in the comments section down below. I don't want to get into any arguments with anybody. Let's just have some healthy conversation. Obviously, there's going to be people who really love Rolex. There's going to be people who really love Omega. And there's going to be a lot of people somewhere in the middle. I actually consider myself somewhere in the middle. It's just the tactics and the marketing that really sort of gets my goat when it comes to Rolex. Other than that, I really do love the brand and I don't have any hate for them whatsoever. But guys, tell me what you think down below. Obviously, I want to have a conversation with you. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. I will catch you guys in the next video.